Governments have historically employed Hegel's dialectic, thesis, antithesis, synthesis, as a strategy of divide and conquer. In this framework, a problem is deliberately created, such as the mass immigration of military-aged men into nations, which in some instances has led to sexual abuse and violence against the most vulnerable populations, particularly women and children. From the 2000s to the 2010s, EU expansion enabled free movement from Eastern Europe, causing net migration to the UK to rise significantly, often exceeding 200,000 to 300,000 people per year. This influx sparked concerns over housing, public services, and integration, becoming major political topics. In the 2020s, following Brexit, the UK introduced a points-based immigration system, but it also faced increased arrivals through asylum claims and schemes, such as the social care visa. By 2025, the government admitted to losing track of over 150,000 migrants on social care visas, highlighting significant gaps in oversight. A substantial proportion of these migrants are military-aged men from predominantly Muslim countries, raising questions about the planning and management of immigration flows. This wave of immigration was influenced by billionaire philanthropists, such as Hungarian Jew George Soros, who have promoted open border policies and funding for refugee and migrant support initiatives across Europe, shaping migration trends. Comparatively, the UK's armed forces comprise approximately 136,000 personnel, while the police force in England and Wales has around 146,000 full-time officers. The number of untracked migrants exceeds the military and police totals, 136,000 and 146,000, respectively. Reports indicate government plans to house these military-aged Muslim immigrant men in British ex-military bases. The reaction to this problem is mass civil unrest and social tension, often amplified through mass protests or movements manipulated by figures who act as agitators within the public sphere, functioning as controlled opposition. Governments and political actors can intensify these reactions by highlighting specific incidents, controlling media narratives, or providing platforms for provocative voices, thereby creating a heightened sense of crisis. This engineered unrest generates public fear, anger, and polarization, making the population more receptive to proposed solutions that might otherwise face resistance. By amplifying the perception of danger or disorder, authorities can justify measures such as increased surveillance, stricter regulations, nationwide digital identity systems, and the deployment of artificial intelligence to monitor and analyze populations. AI technologies can track movement patterns, predict potential unrest, and identify high-risk individuals, allowing authorities to respond proactively, framed as tools to restore order, protect citizens, and manage populations more effectively. These systems leverage AI's ability to process vast amounts of data in real time, creating the impression of heightened security and efficiency. In this way, artificial intelligence becomes an integral part of the infrastructure designed to enforce compliance, optimize social control, and ensure that pre-planned solutions align seamlessly with broader policy objectives. The unrest, therefore, becomes a mechanism through which pre-designed solutions, already planned and aligned with broader policy goals, gain acceptance and legitimacy in the public eye. Governments have a long history of exploiting the public's children to serve their own political, social, or economic agendas. Throughout the ages, the administrations of the Five Eyes countries have targeted children in a variety of ways, often under the guise of education, welfare, or national service. From residential schools that sought to erase cultural identities, to documented instances of industrial-scale, organized child sexual abuse, the political class has repeatedly treated children as instruments to further broader agendas. In contemporary times, this pattern continues, with governments using children as tools to advance ideological objectives, shape public opinion, and implement systems of social control. Whether through education, social programs, or technological monitoring, the manipulation of youth remains a potent means by which authorities assert influence, normalize compliance, and secure the perpetuation of pre-designed societal frameworks. The solution, pre-framed and ready, is then introduced, in this case through digital identity systems. Under SDG 16.9, the United Nations advocates for legal identity for all, aiming to ensure that every individual can prove their identity to access essential services. Through agencies like UNICEF, UNDP, and UNHCR, the UN develops standards and frameworks for secure digital IDs and identity registration, which countries currently adopt voluntarily via legislation and national programs, often guided by internationalist policymakers within the host nations. Through international cooperation, these systems are implemented as a pre-existing, predefined solution to social problems and unrest, simultaneously advancing the global goal of legal identity for all. This framework represents a step in the broader agenda towards centralized global government, effectively moving from coordinated international standards toward mechanisms of control that constrain individual freedoms, creating what some describe as an open-air prison under the guise of security and efficiency. Klaus Schwab, founder of the World Economic Forum, famously stated that, "You will own nothing and be happy," a vision that reflects the transfer of personal property and control from individuals to centralized institutions. This concept resonates with communist ideology, which seeks the abolition of private ownership and the collective management of resources. In political theory, socialism is often viewed as the first step toward communism, as it involves increasing state control over the economy and redistributing wealth, preparing society for a stage where private property is entirely replaced by communal ownership. Today, many nations, including those in the West, operate under a hybrid system combining elements of capitalism, socialism, and aspects of centralized control reminiscent of communism. While markets and private enterprise still exist, governments increasingly influence wealth distribution, regulate industries, and implement social programs, creating a spectrum where individual ownership is partially retained, but societal and state oversight grows. Schwab's statement can thus be seen as a reflection of this trajectory, highlighting a future in which personal autonomy and property rights are gradually diminished in favor of collective or institutional control. From this perspective, the push for digital ID cards under UN SDG 16.9 can be seen as a measure to monitor and manage the population, integrating all residents into a system where identity and movement are recorded and traceable. From 2000 to 2025, the UK saw a succession of prime ministers from the Conservative and Labour parties who, like their counterparts in other Five Eyes countries, have influenced policy in ways aligned with long-standing globalist networks. These leaders shaped immigration policy while taking guidance, often framed as voluntary advice, from institutions such as the United Nations, presenting international directives as neutral or beneficial recommendations. Behind the scenes, a milieu of Freemasonic brethren and other interconnected elites has helped construct a system that the host nation's populace neither requested nor consented to, yet which increasingly directs the rhythms of everyday life. From legal frameworks and social programs to technological and administrative structures that govern mobility, identification, and civil participation. This dynamic reflects a subtle but pervasive influence, in which domestic governance operates in concert with global agendas, shaping society according to pre-designed frameworks rather than organic public demand.
On the bigger scale, I think it's time that we made the argument, and I would do this as Labour leader and hopefully Labour Prime Minister, that we need stronger international agreements, because whatever we do here, we need stuff done globally. So local action, national action, but we've got to play on the international stage here as well. Well, in 2016 I campaigned and I voted for Remain. Once the result came, because I'm an internationalist, I profoundly believe in cooperating, collaborating across borders, whether that's on trade or anything else. It's in my DNA. But I remain committed to being an internationalist and believing cooperation and collaboration across borders, and I always will.